Welcome to Tasteful Pairings, a show where I mush together two things that I think complement each other. Tonight's pairing consists of two Doom mods. The first is a level pack, the pretty well known Auger Zenith. It's a WOD created by the very talented Doomer Boards members, taking inspiration from everything cyberpunk, both the East and the West. It has powerful visuals, fairly high enemy counts, and levels with nice gameplay variety. The second is a gameplay mod called Wild Weasel Presents Terrorists, also known as Police Brutality. We play as a heavy-handed loose cannon cop taking whatever means necessary to stop a terrorist organization which suspiciously uses sprites from Tech War, Star Wars Dark Forces, and a few other old games. Its main selling point is the array of weaponry that gains XP and levels up, changing them from niche but mundane tools into very silly slaughter weapons. Here's my load order for the run. You'll notice I have Nashgore next in the list, but that's entirely optional. Now, let's boot up. There's two new keybinds, one for throwing grenades since they're not a num key weapon, and one to toggle your right click melee attack between kicking and the taser. Make sure you have weapon zoom bound to something because it toggles alternate fire modes for the weapons that have them. The mod exclusive options section is also very short and sweet. Of particular note, the option that sets which of the two assault rifles you want to appear. If you want both rifles in a single run, just pick one up and then switch the menu option over. New drops will all be the alternative rifle. We'll play on commando since it says that's the ultra-violence equivalent, and immediately we're thrown into a beautiful view.
A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies. The chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure.
You can see right off the bat this mod enjoys its aggressive saturated colours, and the music really sells it too. Now for the gameplay. Wild Weasel's Terrorists has simple but frantic combat. You and enemies have an armour statistic, and your starter pistol is not good at penetrating armour. You can clearly tell you're hitting an armoured enemy from the blue sparks and the clunking sound effects. A 44 Magnum revolver is your first armor-piercing gun, and melee attacks are good for ignoring armor as well. In general, enemies with armor have less health, that is, until you start getting to the heavier parts of the roster. At the start of any given run, when your weapons are their weakest, it's important to use the correct weapons or save bullets through melee, as ammo can be sparse. Keep in mind, the guns in Terrorists are projectile weapons. While this means you and the enemy can dodge bullets given enough speed and room, it does mean hitting things like shoot switches can be difficult if used with other map packs that have a lot of them. All of the weapons feel really good to use though. Even the starter pistol feels better than most games I've played. My personal favourites are the sniper rifle and the black bore LMG, because goddamn do those guns fuck.
Begin again.
I mentioned at the start of a given run ammo rationing might be necessary, but this isn't true for long. For example, the starter pistol has a kind of bad fire rate until it pops level 2. As it continues to level up, it eventually gains armor-piercing rounds and a burst fire mode. This kind of thing applies to all guns, and even your grenades and your melee weapons. Grenades take on elemental properties and do more damage, kicks get combos and a knockback shockwave, and the taser starts to do things like set people on fire. Initially, it seemed like the Anders and the Black Boar weren't gaining XP, but it turns out this was just a visual bug with the UI, as heavy use of them did still make them level up. Power-ups in terrorists mostly come in the form of civilians. Look out for the big use prompt over their heads and avoid shooting them, because more often than not, they'll drop nothing on death. These women in blue suits replace partial invisibility spheres, and they'll provide you with weapon upgrade kits when you interact with them. By about halfway through Auger Zenith, I had almost everything maxed out. Now for the big question, what's the overall experience like? Well, since Doomerboard's projects are made by a whole group of people, every map gets its own feel. There are certainly gimmick maps, like the one structured to encourage you to play it like a Sonic course, or the nightclub slaughter map, or the VR mindfuck level where some of the gags go on a little bit too long. But my personal favourites were the immersive urban environments that had me exploring from building to building and city block to city block. There's a lot of futuristic but believable environments, a lot of interactivity within those environments that surprised me, and with jumping and crouching enabled, the world is usually very easy to traverse, without creating a feeling that the levels are being broken every few seconds. There are a couple of encounters that border on taking the piss, like the couple that take place in heavy rainfall, or the fight at the very top of the apartment mega block of map 5. These couple of fights are still entirely doable, but they'll likely take a couple of attempts as you learn what enemies are involved, figure out target priorities, the best weapons to use, and then bring it all together. In the whole run, I found no glitches, at least none that weren't intentional, saw no broken scripting, didn't have to use any cheats at any point to progress, and I had no crashes or any other incompatibilities. As I had hoped, Auger Zenith and Police Brutality are an exquisite pairing. The 80s campy techno chic of terrorists blends perfectly with the B-movie anime world Auger Zen takes place in. It'll easily fill up at least one solid evening of gaming, giving nice level variety and a steady curve of difficulty that lets you really feel like you're getting mileage out of your slowly strengthening arsenal. I'm looking forward to playing through again after this video, taking things a bit slower, trying to find the secrets I missed, and getting more screenshot-worthy pictures of the world. Thank you for watching. I'm Ash the Conjurer, and I have been your Ludokino sommelier for the evening. I hope to see you again in the future for another tasteful pairing.